With some breaking news, the national television schedule, it's been released for the 2025 W season. There are 175 games you can catch on national TV and on streaming.
Take a guess. How many of this season's nationally broadcast WNBA games will feature Caitlin Clark? If you said a lot, you're still underestimating just how massive her impact is. The WNBA's 2025 national broadcast schedule has been released, and the worst-kept secret in sports is now impossible to ignore. Caitlin Clark is the WNBA's main attraction. No PR spin, no carefully worded statements, and no scheduling conflicts can hide the fact that networks and team owners alike are making big-money moves to capitalize on her superstar presence. Just look at the numbers. Clark's Indiana Fever, a team that went 5-31 just 2 seasons ago, will have 41 out of 44 games nationally televised or streamed this season. Let that sink in. 41 out of 44. That's a level of media coverage typically reserved for dynasties like the Golden State Warriors or major market NBA powerhouses like the Lakers and Celtics. The Fever have gone from playing in half-empty arenas to prime-time must-watch basketball, and the reason is clear. Caitlin Clark is box office. And here's the irony. While sports analysts twist themselves into knots trying to find faults in Clark's game or stir up controversy, their own networks are happily cashing in on her star power. Every time she pulls up from the logo or delivers a jaw-dropping assist, millions will be watching. The WNBA has fought for mainstream attention for years, and now, thanks to Clark's electric presence, it's finally getting it. ABC, ESPN, CBS. Name a network, and chances are, Caitlin Clark will be lighting it up on their broadcast. This kind of exposure is game-changing for the WNBA. But not everyone is thrilled. Some of the league's biggest stars are undoubtedly feeling overshadowed by the Clark media frenzy. Take Angel Reese, for example. She just secured a $50,000 payday from Unrivaled. But with Clark dominating headlines, she might need to invest in some noise-canceling headphones just to block out the hype. But this is just the beginning. The 2025 season is shaping up to be historic, and Caitlin Clark is at the center of it all. How many more records will she break? How will this unprecedented spotlight reshape the league? One thing is for sure, whether you love her or hate her, you're going to be watching. And if you think Clark is about to sell out every arena she steps into the season, go ahead and smash that like button.
Taylor finds Clark from the logo.
This level of exposure isn't just unprecedented for a single WNBA team. It's something the league as a whole has never seen before. It doesn't matter that Indiana isn't a reigning champion or a major market franchise. Caitlin Clark is the league's biggest draw, period. The network saw the record-breaking viewership from last season and made one thing clear. We need more of that. Clark's 2024 rookie season wasn't just impressive, it rewrote history. The WNBA shattered modern records for viewership, making it the most-watched season in 24 years, with over 54 million viewers tuning in across various networks. And guess who was front and center for many of the highest-rated games? That's right. Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. A regular season Fever game on ABC pulled in 2.23 million viewers, a number unheard of for a WNBA game. Another game on CBS did even better, reaching 2.25 million viewers. These aren't just great numbers for the WNBA, they're NBA-level TV ratings. And they weren't flukes. Game after game, Caitlin Clark proved she was the ticket to mainstream success, drawing audiences that the league had spent decades trying to capture. And then came the playoffs, things only got crazier. Stay tuned, because what happened next cemented Clark's status as the most valuable player, not just on the court, but in the entire business of women's basketball.
Clark, step back three, knocks it down!
2 in the first quarter against Connecticut.
Clark connects on a three!
Caitlin Clark's impact on the WNBA isn't just about regular season hype. It's about historic playoff numbers that shook the league. Her first-round series drew more viewers than the later rounds that didn't feature her. Let that sink in. One of Clark's Fever playoff games pulled in a staggering 2.5 million viewers, more than the 2024 WNBA Finals, which averaged 1.57 million viewers. That's right. A first-round game featuring Caitlin Clark outperformed the championship series. If that doesn't prove she's the biggest ratings magnet in women's basketball, nothing will. Now, ESPN, ABC, and CBS aren't just airing her games, they're competing for them. We're talking weekend afternoons, primetime weeknights, you name it. This isn't just coverage. It's a full-blown media frenzy around one player. Historically, this kind of scheduling priority has only been given to icons like LeBron James or Steph Curry. For a WNBA sophomore to command this level of attention, it's mind-blowing. And if you're a fan of another WNBA team, don't worry. You'll still see them whenever they play Caitlin Clark and the Fever. But that raises the question, how many national broadcasts do other teams even have compared to Indiana? Let's break it down.
Discouraged Alyssa Thomas from making some of her great passes.
No one picks up Clark, who cans the three.
Having 41 out of 44 games nationally televised is already unheard of. But the gap between Caitlin Clark and the WNBA's other top stars, like Aya Wilson and Breanna Stewart, is even more glaring. And then there's Angel Reese and the Chicago Sky, who will have 24 nationally broadcasted games. That's solid exposure. But let's be real, 5 of those games are against the Indiana Fever. The truth is, any team playing the Fever automatically gets a national TV boost. So while Angel Reese might want to claim she's driving the hype, the numbers tell a different story. Nearly half as many televised games as Caitlin? That's just the reality at this point. But hey, there's a silver lining. When Caitlin's your opponent, you get the spotlight too. Demand for Fever road games has become so intense that at least 6 teams had to move their home games to bigger arenas just to accommodate the crowds. The Dallas Wings shifted a June game to a 20,000-seat NBA arena. The Chicago Sky moved 2 games to the United Center, which can hold nearly 21,000 fans. Even the Atlanta Dream upgraded to State Farm Arena, home of the Hawks. And while their owner hilariously claimed it was due to a scheduling conflict, we all know what's really happening. In fact, Caitlin Clark was jokingly nicknamed the scheduling conflict because somehow arenas are suddenly unavailable only when she's in town, forcing teams to move to larger venues. But can you blame them? Caitlin Clark is an economic stimulus package. The numbers don't lie. The Caitlin Clark effect on the WNBA. Just look at last year. Total WNBA attendance jumped 48% year over year. The league set a new record with 154 sellouts, more than triple the previous season. The Indiana Fever alone obliterated records. 340,000 fans attended their home games in 2024, a staggering 319% increase from 2023. Read that again. A team that drew about 80,000 fans in 2023 pulled in 340,000 in 2024. That's the Caitlin Clark effect in action. While some may get jealous or nitpick her impact, this is undeniably great for the WNBA. For the first time ever, there's unprecedented demand for women's basketball, all sparked by one player who has captured the nation's attention. The WNBA is officially in uncharted territory, and Caitlin Clark is leading the way.
With such star power on those teams, it's really no surprise they're atop the list for the most games available for you to check out on a national scale. The Fever, they lead the league with 41 games here, followed by the Aces 33, the champion Liberty at 32.
Some people thought, and some haters hoped, that the Caitlin Clark phenomenon would fade after her rookie season. But let's be honest, it's only getting bigger. Look at the evidence. Teams are moving their games to larger arenas just to handle the demand. Networks are broadcasting nearly every Fever game on national TV, and the Fever's preseason game in Iowa against the Brazilian national team sold 15,000 tickets in under an hour. That's right, a preseason game, not even a regular season matchup, sold out almost instantly. If anyone still thought Caitlyn's impact was just a fleeting moment, these numbers are proving them completely wrong. This isn't just a temporary wave of excitement. This is a movement. The demand for Caitlyn Clark is shattering expectations, and the ripple effect is impossible to ignore. It's not just about her. It's about how her presence is elevating the entire WNBA. The snowball effect is in full motion. New fans, many of whom never previously followed women's basketball, are tuning in because of the Caitlyn Clark buzz. They come to watch her game-changing deep threes, flashy assists, and high-energy plays. But once they're watching, something even bigger happens. They get hooked on the competition itself. They realize that the WNBA isn't just about one player. It's an entire league full of elite athletes putting on incredible performances. That's the real magic of what Caitlyn Clark is doing. She's not just a superstar in her own right. She's a gateway for millions of new fans to fall in love with women's basketball as a whole. Yes, people want to see Caitlyn Clark, but what makes her even more exciting is the talented opponents who push her to new heights. The better the competition, the more exciting the games become. This dynamic is exactly what fuels long-term fan engagement. The Fever aren't just riding the Caitlyn wave. They're now part of a growing WNBA renaissance, where people are realizing the talent across the league is undeniably elite. This isn't just a great moment for Caitlyn Clark. It's a turning point for the entire WNBA. And if you think this is the peak of Caitlyn Clark's impact, you haven't seen anything yet. The numbers are already off the charts. But with her sophomore season just beginning, expect even bigger crowds, higher ratings, and more sellouts than ever before. The WNBA has been waiting for a star like this. Now, the entire sports world is watching. This is where the real drama unfolds. Last season, Caitlyn Clark didn't just join the Indiana Fever. She transformed them. A team that started with a dismal 1-8 record found new life under her leadership, turning things around with an impressive 19-12 run, clawing their way back to a .500 finish, and, against all odds, securing a playoff spot for the first time since 2016. It was a Cinderella story, one that took the league by surprise. But this season is different, with a national spotlight shining brighter than ever. Both die-hard WNBA fans and casual viewers will get a front-row seat to a team that is no longer just fighting for relevance, but for a championship. And it's not just Caitlyn Clark carrying the weight. She now has reinforcements. The Fever's front office made bold, strategic moves in the offseason, building a powerhouse roster around their superstar. They're no longer just an up-and-coming team. They're a legitimate title contender. So, what changed? Who are the key pieces that will help Caitlyn take this team to the next level? And what should fans expect this season? Let's dive in. The Indiana Fever didn't just tweak their roster this offseason. They completely reloaded. They started at the top, making a bold coaching change by parting ways with Christy Sides and bringing in Stephanie White. The reigning WNBA Coach of the Year from the Connecticut Sun, White isn't just an upgrade. She's a proven winner, someone who understands how to build a championship-caliber team, maximize talent, and implement a system that brings out the best in her players. But a great coach can only do so much without the right roster, and the Fever's front office made sure to deliver. They knew that if they wanted to go from a scrappy underdog to a legitimate title contender, they needed veteran leadership, defensive toughness, and playoff experience. So, they got to work. First, they added Dewana Bonner and Natasha Howard, two battle-tested veterans with championship pedigrees. Bonner, a six-time All-Star, remains one of the most reliable scorers in the league despite being 37. She's seen it all, played in the biggest moments, and knows exactly what it takes to win. Meanwhile, Howard, a former Defensive Player of the Year, brings elite rim protection, rebounding, and versatility, making the Fever's front court an absolute nightmare for opposing teams. But they weren't done yet. To shore up their defense and add even more veteran presence, the Fever brought in Brianna Turner, a defensive specialist who can lock down elite scorers, and Sydney Colson, a two-time WNBA champion known for her leadership and locker room presence. These moves weren't just about talent. They were about culture. The Fever weren't just collecting good players. They were building a team with an identity, one that refuses to back down from anyone. Then came the biggest move of the offseason. In a blockbuster trade, the Fever acquired Sophie Cunningham, one of the league's toughest, most fearless competitors. And the moment she arrived in Indiana, she made one thing very clear. She's Caitlin Clark's enforcer. If anyone thinks they can play rough with Caitlin, they'll have to go through her first. Sophie's fiery, no-nonsense attitude is exactly what this team needed. A player who isn't afraid to get in someone's face, knock down big shots, and bring a level of intensity that opponents will hate to deal with. With a new coach, a revamped roster, and a fresh mindset, the Indiana Fever aren't just looking to make the playoffs this time. They've built a team that's ready to compete for a championship. The question isn't whether they'll be good, it's how far they can go.
We say her stats are today, what? 20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But 5
crazy.
5
Is
point,
that dominant?
5.6
Those are
turnovers.
hell of a
too.
number.
Those are hell of a numbers.
But to me, that's not
Period.
dominating.
The Indiana Fever didn't just tweak their roster this offseason. They completely reloaded. They started at the top, making a bold coaching change by parting ways with Christy Sides and bringing in Stephanie White. The reigning WNBA Coach of the Year from the Connecticut Sun, White isn't just an upgrade. She's a proven winner, someone who understands how to build a championship-caliber team, maximize talent, and implement a system that brings out the best in her players. But a great coach can only do so much without the right roster, and the Fever's front office made sure to deliver. They knew that if they wanted to go from a scrappy underdog to a legitimate title contender, they needed veteran leadership, defensive toughness, and playoff experience. So, they got to work. First, they added Dewana Bonner and Natasha Howard, two battle-tested veterans with championship pedigrees. Bonner, a 6-time All-Star, remains one of the most reliable scorers in the league despite being 37. She's seen it all, played in the biggest moments, and knows exactly what it takes to win. Meanwhile, Howard, a former Defensive Player of the Year, brings elite rim protection, rebounding, and versatility, making the Fever's front court an absolute nightmare for opposing teams. But they weren't done yet. To shore up their defense and add even more veteran presence, the Fever brought in Brianna Turner, a defensive specialist who can lock down elite scorers, and Sydney Colson, a two-time WNBA champion known for her leadership and locker room presence. These moves weren't just about talent. They were about culture. The Fever weren't just collecting good players. They were building a team with an identity, one that refuses to back down from anyone. Then came the biggest move of the offseason. In a blockbuster trade, the Fever acquired Sophie Cunningham, one of the league's toughest, most fearless competitors. And the moment she arrived in Indiana, she made one thing very clear. She's Caitlin Clark's enforcer. If anyone thinks they can play rough with Caitlin, they'll have to go through her first. Sophie's fiery, no-nonsense attitude is exactly what this team needed. A player who isn't afraid to get in someone's face, knock down big shots, and bring a level of intensity that opponents will hate to deal with. With a new coach, a revamped roster, and a fresh mindset, the Indiana Fever aren't just looking to make the playoffs this time. They've built a team that's ready to compete for a championship. The question isn't whether they'll be good, it's how far they can go 07.
Samuelson, nice pass there to Clark. Clark behind the back. Oh, it's Smith with the finish. Brilliance from Caitlin Clark.
Just a year ago, they were a perennial lottery team, struggling to stay relevant. But with Caitlin Clark's arrival, everything changed. She single-handedly dragged Indiana to the 2024 playoffs. turning a once-forgotten franchise into must-watch TV. Now, heading into 2025, she's no longer carrying the load alone. The Fever's front office has done more than just build around their young superstar. They've constructed a powerhouse. They made sure to keep their core intact, re-signing Kelsey Mitchell, a dynamic 19-point-per-game scorer and one of the league's most lethal offensive weapons. And let's not forget the dominant presence of Aaliyah Boston, the 2023 Rookie of the Year, a former #1 pick and already one of the best post players in the WNBA. Suddenly, this team isn't just competitive, it's stacked. 5 All-Stars, multiple champions, and a much deeper bench. Talk about a meteoric rise. A year ago, this franchise was still in rebuild mode. Now, some are saying they've built a super team in record time. The buzz around Indiana has exploded. Expectations aren't just about making the playoffs anymore. Fans and analysts are whispering about championship potential. And for good reason. The Fever haven't won a title since 2012, but now people are asking, could 2025 be the year that drought ends? And it's not just Indiana fans who are locked in. Neutral WNBA fans are dying to watch this team. Because let's be honest, if the Fever were fun last year, this new roster could be absolutely electric. And that raises one big question. Just how much better can Caitlin Clark get with a supporting cast like this? She was already a one-woman wrecking crew in college, carrying Iowa to back-to-back national championship games. And as a rookie, she proved she could elevate a struggling WNBA team. Now, for the first time in her professional career, she's surrounded by elite talent. Caitlin exploded after the Olympic break last season, averaging 23 points per game. A stat line that would have made her a serious MVP contender if not for Aya Wilson's absurd 27-point-per-game season. With this revamped roster, it's not hard to imagine that 23 points per game is just her new floor. And with more weapons around her, her assist numbers could skyrocket as well. And let's not forget, she's only 23 years old. She's nowhere near her prime yet. The Caitlin Clark Show? It might just be getting started. But of course, with all this excitement comes a bit of drama. Not everyone in the league is thrilled about the Caitlin Clark effect. As the WNBA Players Union gears up for CBA negotiations, some stars are starting to talk like they hold all the cards, conveniently glossing over who actually dealt those cards in the first place. Take Angel Reese and Nafisa Collier, for example. Angel recently said on her podcast that if the league doesn't meet their demands, we sitting out? Essentially threatening a player strike. The tension is building. Caitlin's rise has brought unprecedented attention and financial opportunities to the WNBA. But not everyone is ready to bend the knee to her impact. As Indiana Fever fans celebrate their best roster in over a decade, the rest of the WNBA is preparing for a battle both on and off the court. One thing's for sure, 2025 is going to be a season like no other.
Helped guide Connecticut to the semifinals where they've been each of the last 5 years, and Bonner.
The WNBA Players Association is gearing up for a potential CBA showdown, and some players aren't holding back. Nafisa Collier, the union's vice president, made it clear, if the league doesn't meet their demands, a work stoppage is on the table. To be fair, they're absolutely right to fight for better pay. With a new media rights deal set to take effect in 2026, league revenues are about to skyrocket. No, WNBA salaries won't suddenly hit NBA levels, but they should rise enough to prevent players from having to play overseas just to make ends meet. But here's the thing, that leverage didn't appear out of thin air. The reason the WNBA is in this position? Caitlin Clark, a sports business analyst, crunched the numbers and found that Caitlin was responsible for 26.5% of all WNBA economic activity in 2024. That's over a quarter of the league's entire business, driven by one rookie. She didn't just boost TV ratings, she revolutionized them. Games without Caitlin? 1/3 the viewership of games featuring her. Indiana Fever matchups accounted for nearly half of all national TV revenue. Ticket sales? 1 in 6 tickets sold was because of her. Merchandise? Fever gear flew off the shelves. Yet, when you listen to Angel Reese and others speak, you won't hear them thanking Caitlyn for putting them in this position. Instead, there's a lot of talk about player leverage, conveniently ignoring who actually created that leverage in the first place.
Guy kicks it to Cunningham. 3 on the way is good. No foul is called, and now tempers are flaring.
And it's not just the players. League and team executives won't say it outright either. When WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert announced the league's new schedule, she credited incredible basketball and countless memorable performances, carefully avoiding putting the spotlight on any one player. Come on, Kathy. We all know who that player is. Some of this is just politics and pride. Veteran players don't want to admit that a rookie came in and completely outshined them. And sure, a rising tide lifts all boats. Caitlyn's popularity is bringing more money and attention to everyone in the league. That's great for women's basketball. But let's not pretend we don't see the subtle resentment. That college rivalry narrative between Caitlyn and Angel, it's carried over to the WNBA, with fans debating Team Clark versus Team Reese. Angel has leaned into it, acting like she's on Caitlyn's level of stardom. But let's be real, she's not out on the court in impact, in everything that matters. Caitlyn Clark is in a league of her own right now. That's just facts. Some fans are even saying these players should be thanking Caitlyn for giving them this platform in the first place. But of course, you'll never hear that publicly.
Here comes Clark, bouncing to Thad Bentley, who lays it in.
What does that mean? We deserve more.
Of course,
Everybody.
I agree.
Everybody.
I agree with that.
They gonna get more. They probably gonna be making more than us.
No, they are. Yeah. I've been in the meetings. They are.
I need to get in the. I need to get in the field.
You need to come to the
I
meeting.
gotta get in the meetings because I'm hearing like, yeah, they don't give us. If y'all don't give us what we want, like, we sitting out.
And ironically, the one person who isn't demanding credit is Caitlyn herself. While other players are talking about strikes and negotiations, Caitlyn hasn't touched the topic publicly. She doesn't complain, brag, or demand recognition. She just keeps putting in the work and letting her game do the talking. A perfect example? The NBA invited Caitlyn to take part in their All-Star Weekend three-point contest. A huge honor. She would have stolen the show, but she turned it down. Why? Because she didn't want to be a sideshow at the NBA's event. Instead, she wants to headline the WNBA's own three-point contest, which just so happens to be in Indianapolis this year. That's the kind of league-first mindset that makes her special. And while others argue about who deserves what, let's consider this. Caitlyn reportedly made $11 million in 2024 from endorsements and nil deals, making her one of the highest-paid female athletes in the world. Meanwhile, her WNBA salary? About $75,000. Think about that. Less than 1% of her total earnings came from the league itself. She could easily complain about that imbalance. After all, nobody delivers more financial value to the WNBA than she does. But instead, she seems completely fine with it. Her agent even said that she'll likely never be paid what she truly deserves by the WNBA. And Caitlyn? She doesn't seem to care. Because she understands the bigger picture, she's not just another player. She's a trailblazer, the WNBA's Larry Bird. Just like Bird and Magic saved the NBA in the 80s, Caitlyn is doing the same for women's basketball today. Magic and Bird didn't make the insane salaries we see today, but they built the NBA into a global powerhouse, paving the way for Jordan, Kobe, and LeBron to cash in. Caitlyn? She's willing to play that role for the WNBA.
Some of your peers, they will recognize, her game, but they won't recognize her impact.
Right.
How can you separate the two? It's kind of
hard,
right?
And I used and Jax, you're absolutely right. And I was like, come on, you big dummies. Everybody now has an opportunity to pull up their chair and have a seat.
For the Sparks, 0 for 9, and
Caitlin Clark.
Fell to the aces in 4 games. Clark connects.
Caitlin Clark may never get a paycheck that truly reflects her value to the WNBA, but she's already securing something far more important, a lasting legacy. Years from now, when the WNBA is thriving on an entirely new level, we'll look back and know that Caitlin was the one who lit the fuse. Her ridiculous talent, her humility, her determination, it's all changing the game in real time that she's filling arenas, shattering TV ratings, and inspiring an arms race among teams trying to keep up with Indiana. And through it all, she's doing it with a smile and a humble attitude. Sure, league officials might say it's because of incredible performances across the board. But we know the truth. Caitlin Clark is the superstar driving this new era. And the best part? She's lifting the entire league along with her. So, if you thought last season was wild, get ready. Year 2 of the Caitlin Clark Show is going to be even bigger. Attendance and viewership records? They might fall again. A deep playoff run? Maybe even a championship. If that happens, the sports world will go into a frenzy. One thing's for sure. You won't want to miss a single second of it. Go ahead. Mark those fever games on your calendar. Tune in, enjoy the ride, and watch history unfold. And if you're still here, drop a basketball in the comments to say hi. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.